Well, guys, lovely little Saturday night here. Um, so you've heard of alpha males and you've heard of beta males. I don't think either of those terms is strange to anybody watching this. But what if I told you that there is a third category entire that is completely unrelated to either of those? That is the sigma male. Now, it's not like between alpha and beta. It's its own category, and I believe I am one. A sigma male is kind of the mysterious lone wolf of the male species, and there are some other categories with sigmas that are unique. So small talk doesn't go very well with sigmas. While more simplistic alphas or even beta, or actually mostly alphas, are looking at the Iran war, for example. They're like, okay, well, let's dump NATO, which is fine and all. Most people are looking for simple answers to problems. Sigmas don't. While the MAGA folks are simplistically looking to get out and they're saying dump NATO, dump NATO, dump NATO. Us Sigmas are proposing replacements, figuring out who belongs, who should be allied with us, and exactly making the case for or against each country. We're going deep. We're taking the deep dive. We always do. Sigmas don't do small talk. We don't do small talk about the weather, small talk about sports. We're solving political crises around the world in our heads. We're solving the world's problems. And we're going deep. In my case, I'm looking at, manosphere content in social media, the gender wars. Most people will just blame one side or the other. Sigma males are looking for the deep diagnoses, why, figuring out if we even fit in this or not. And we also know on that particular front exactly what we want. My standards in that particular regard are very specific. And it's been estimated by even professionals around me that only about 2% of women can possibly meet them. I can ask a couple of very simple questions and rule out 98% of women on the planet as far as any sort of potential dating or any sort of potential match is concerned. That's the Sigma way. We know exactly what we want. We know what questions to ask, and we can cut straight to the chase and get straight to the answer in seconds, maybe minutes. Sigmas know we know what we want on the dating front. We also are not afraid to tackle things on our own. We don't chase either in that particular environment. We don't chase the women. We want them to come to us. And in order to get them to come to us, we know that we have work to do. We know that we need to work on ourselves. In my particular case, after being, I believe, unfairly terminated by my previous employer, the Sigma mind is breaking down why this happened the way it did and how to take specific steps to avoid a repeat down the road. Employers, when it comes to job interviews, they're not just interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. I usually come with a list of questions on my own because I want to know what the future is going to look like down the road should I take their offer. This is the Sigma mindset. It's not like, oh, do you have any questions? No, I don't have any. No, I'm like, how do you rate performance? What specific steps do you take on that? If performance is short, how do you How do you process that? What kind of metrics do you use? Where do my soft people skill sets fit in this particular position? Do you need somebody who can be kind of the master of explaining stuff to a customer, or does that not matter? These are the questions I ask when it comes to job interviews. I'm interviewing the company. I want to know if I'm going to be potentially in a similar snafu down the road. I'm looking to head that off at the pass right from the jump. And in a couple cases, I've actually been able to do it. I was already looking for new employment long before last week even happened. That is the Sigma mindset, folks. In case, and before you even ask the question or even type in the keyboard, yes, there are Sigma women. Very similar. Very, not just independent, willing to be lone wolves. They solve problems. They don't do small talk either. They do deep dives. What happens if a Sigma male and a Sigma female meet each other? Well, it kind of depends, you know. And I mean, physical attraction doesn't mean as much to Sigmas in both genders, by the way. Being intelligent and being very analytical can be very attractive to a Sigma. You know, it's more attractive to us than being a Victoria's Secret runway model. We can also be deeply spiritual characters, although not all. I, for one, am. You know, we can be spiritual, have those types of connections, because that's also something that runs deep, because we're deep thinkers. Alpha males are definitely not deep thinkers. They're bulls in china shops running straight for the prize, if you will. They like to be dominant, loud, and the focus of attention. Sigmas are quiet, but we're determined. We have that steely, underneath determination. We don't announce ourselves. We simply do things. We do not announce our intentions. We don't do surface things. We go to the deep and go to the depths on everything that we think about and do. We're some of the best strategists you'll ever meet. Both the male and the female variety of the Sigma. So as I've said before, you know, I have a close friend several states over who I believe to also be a Sigma. Has there ever been any sort of a romantic thing? No. When we first even met in the first place, it was for a professional purpose, and she was already engaged. Sigmas don't chase things that they don't want what they can't have. So for us to keep those boundaries in intergender contexts and connections is very easy. But I'll get messages and texts about some of the most notable things in worldviews from this person at 11 p.m. Completely not just platonic, but even mental. But this is how Sigmas think and interact with each other. Now, if there is a romantic element to it, from what I have seen and read, it can be very, not even intense or emotional. There's no emotion, hardly any emotion at all. But the bond can be just so unavoidable if it comes to any sort of a romantic connection. but it's calm. It's determined. It's immensely respectful. And it's also extremely powerful. A Sigma man and a Sigma woman as a couple can be one of the most powerful things that you will ever see or have the privilege of witnessing in your lifetime. That type of a couple just cannot be stopped. It's my dream. You know, she's somebody who's bailed herself out of so many problems that she's lost count. The complete opposite of the damsel in distress. A Sigma female will never be a damsel in distress. Will never need to be bailed out. Will never need to be saved, and most likely will never need to be provided for. She does it herself. She's used to doing it herself. But like myself, she wouldn't mind having a partner to go through it with. I wouldn't mind having a partner to go through it with in life, but if it's not meant to be, I'm also quite accepting of that outcome. Sigmas don't mind doing things by themselves. But you get two of them together, and all of a sudden 1 + 1 = 5. That's what you get. Sigma friends or Sigma dating couples really just cannot be stopped. If you're up against one, all I gotta say is say your prayers, because if you're up against them, God is probably the only thing that can stop them. And of course, I mentioned beta males. Of course, beta males are weak. They're not determined. They seek approval. Sigmas don't give two craps about approval from anybody else. Betas, of course, do. They're always seeking approval from the opposite gender or from their peers. That's why the term is a beta. They're second class. Whereas us Sigmas are a class of our own. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it our way. And if we're on the lookout for a partner, we want somebody who's the same. We want somebody who we can not only build with, but fight the battles with together, all without the emotional high that comes with dealing with an alpha. We're mentally focused like lasers and just calm as can be. We can separate our decision making from emotions. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have emotions, because we definitely do. But we separate our decision makings and our actions from that. We're very good at it. I wasn't born this way. I learned how to do this out of necessity. Like so many of the skills I have interpersonally in my life, there was a traumatic period inside of a cult called the International Churches of Christ, in my case, in the late 1990s, where I learned all these things out of necessity, including how to be a non-emotional, doing it myself Sigma. So in my case, it's learned. But in most of the cases of your typical Sigma, they're born that way. So there it is, guys. There's alphas, and there's betas, and there's a third category called the Sigmas. You want to be on our side. You do not want to be up against us. But a partnership with us could be one of the best things that you ever have. Because we can think through everything. I was told in many of my years in my 20s and 30s that it was like, he always has a plan. Sigmas always have a plan. We can solve the world's political and international issues if given the opportunity. We are detailed, we are thoughtful, we are laser focused with no emotion or very little. We are at least, even if inwardly we're shaking in our boots, outwardly in our actions we're extremely calm. We're not the attention seekers of the alphas. We don't seek domination like the alphas. And we don't shrink back and seek approval like the betas. We're our own category. We do it our way. We do it focused. We don't tip our hands. And you want us on your side. That is the short thing here. Sigma males and Sigma females. The friends you want and the enemies you don't. That is it, folks. I will be talking to you guys tomorrow when I come up with something different. I did my church thing today. So I'll probably be up early in the morning. Probably coming up with a new episode of something different. So anyhow, there it is, folks. We will see you tomorrow. Peace out, homies.